Welcome in our Men Are Forged podcast. This is your host, Carl A. Morris. Got something a little different for y'all today. If you remember Zach Juergensen from episode 68 back in February, I interviewed him. We hit on an array of topics from his life growing up in a Lutheran church to doing shrooms to being in the military as a United States Marine to him unplugging is what he calls it, as well as being retired at the age of 33. And that's what we get into today, is really unpacking more of how he did that, some real practical tools for you of how you can be more financially independent at a younger age than what we think we're supposed to be. So, excited about today's episode. Without further ado, here it is. All right, welcome to another episode of Men Are Forged. This guy you may find his voice kind of familiar. He's been on a couple episodes back, and I had to get him back on. Zach Juergensen from Arizona, DIY Wealth podcast. Recommend y'all checking him out. ZachJuergensen.com. Some of y'all remember him. He had some powerful insights, some really cool stuff of just his journey, his life, being a United States Marine to now like being in his early 30s, and he's retired. What's the term you use though? You don't use retired. What's the
I'm glad you remember. All right, cool. So I like to use the term unplug.
Unplugged. I get it. Yeah. Yep. So that's what we're kind of diving in today, Zach. But man, first, give us a little update on just where you're at, what you're doing, what's the anything exciting going on.
So I don't know if I talked about it last time, but recently ran into a good relationship with a lawyer. And so now this individual is sending us probate deals. And so my DIY Wealth founders, the people that go support me on Patreon, the ones that have some cash laying around ready to go, what I do is I end up bundling these people together as a group of investors, which brings the total intensity of being able to do a house flip down. And so the one we're working on right now is in Northern Phoenix, and we got it for $480. We're probably going to be able to sell it for $700. The rehab is going to run us about $65,000. So, but again, had 3 investors get into this deal, going to be able to get them, probably a little bit over a 50% return on their money in 100 days. And so, but again, I'm big because again, I came from nothing. Okay. So I'm all about helping the smaller people that are a little aware that they want to be getting ahead, but they don't have the capital intensity. And so instead of going to a big fish investor that's got $200,000-$300,000 sitting around, I really want to crowdsource people that have, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 sitting around, bundle 2, 3, 4 of these people together to fund a project and get more money into their pockets so they can start building this building this ball faster. So a little more niche, a little more unique, a little more steps, more updating people, but that's been a big update. What else?
But I mean, I just love how your brain works, man. I think that's what makes it's fun having you on, is because man, you're just forward thinking, new ways. And I think that's what makes you so good at what you do. And that's why I think you're so valuable to my guests, even for me, is I'm learning something of just there's always a way around. There's always a way through.
Always got to be thinking a little bit differently, especially when you come from a base of nothing like I did. It's just, if you're going to try and think like traditional people or old money or people that were born into a world where mom and dad can take care of things for you, you're not going to be able to get ahead because you're thinking in that framework. So I have my whole life, I have had to think a little bit differently in order to get ahead. And so I'm just sharing these techniques, these thoughts. And then as I continue to build my little castle, I want to help other people build their castles too.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. It's funny. Yeah. I think there is the generational gap there is. And just, I think for the younger guys out there trying to just pop that bubble a little bit.
Yeah.
I think and no, offense of their own, of the boomers, there was a straightforward thinking, you do these things, your life works out and you're a good person. Right. And or good things happen or you're a good person, whatever.
Yeah, I think the environment has changed, completely changed. Yeah. I did an episode on inflation, and like that episode, I adjusted for cost of living and stuff like that. And the Pew Research Center ended up saying something to the effect of like, since the 1970s, average wages are up 49%. Okay. So that sounds cool as a data point. That sounds like we're winning, right? Okay. But I adjusted for inflation and cost of living with the housing market since the 1970s, and then the education. And if you adjust for inflation and cost of living adjustments for housing's up 337%. Education's up 219%. How the heck is a 49% increase in average wages fighting 337%, 200? It's not. So, no. But again, you need to be aware of these things, so that way you're being a little more diligent on how you're fighting back to secure your financial future. Mm-hmm. Yes. I get it. I get life's a lot harder to get ahead. It just is. Okay. Mm-hmm. My grandpa worked one job, supported a wife and 4 kids comfortably, bought a 40-piece acre of land with a farm on it, all this other stuff. They bought it for $18,000. Like, good. Forget about the real estate for a second. Mm-hmm. Imagine trying to raise 4 kids and support a wife on one income today. That's just, to me, that's not a very, the mom and the husband and the wife are working, and they're having 1 or 2 kids, not 4 kids. You know what I'm saying? Like it's gotten a lot harder to financially not only get ahead, but like financially support children. And that's why you're seeing delays in people having children and stuff like that. It's just, I'll never give anyone a free pass to just roll over and take it, because I'm showing you there's ways you can fight back. You got to think a little bit differently. You got to be, I don't know if sneakier is the right word. You just got to learn to work the angles and understand that there's areas you can operate in that can help you get ahead in life as long as you're aware of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, that's kind of what I want to talk to you today about, Zach, is, if I could front load what we're going to talk about is, the word midlife crisis, speaking of the boomers, really came to fruition around their time, right?
Yeah.
The midlife crisis. And I think a lot has to do is what I'm finding is what got, millennials our age, we're not willing to step into. And because I'm finding in my conversations with friends, clients, people, and even myself is you kind of keep the 9 to 5. You do what you think you're supposed to do what your parents did. You show up to a job, you do your job, you go home, and but you end up eventually, and some guys make good money. They make a good living. Mm-hmm, they support their family, and but they're feeling this ceiling career wise. Mm-hmm. And they're starting to make moves, and most of the guys don't really know how, because they didn't train that thinking, how to think differently, how to think outside the box, innovatively. All right, if I went off and did my own thing, how would I do that?
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the big question I put to you is like, what is kind of the steps we can start putting in? And maybe let's start step 1 of, what to, if somebody has that thought, all right, well then how do I go about that?
So what thought specifically?
The thought is all right, I've been, for 10 years, been at the same job, doing the same thing. And
okay, so the inflection point is happening today, right now. What's the first step? First step I would tell you is, where do I want to be in 5 years?
Yeah.
So before you even start thinking, I might want to do this, I might want to do that, that's cool. Okay. You might want to do these things. You might want to do those 3 things. You might be successful with it. You might not be successful with it. I don't care about any of that. Where I would start is, okay, I'm aware I've been doing this for 10 years. My job satisfaction's down. My happiness is down. I'm not feeling fulfilled. I feel like there's a ceiling. I'm tired of my industry, whatever the reason is. Okay. You've had this inflection point in your life. Okay. The first place I would start is, where do I want to be in 5 years? Do I want to be in Mexico with a vacation property, living there half the year and doing something else the other half of the year? Do I want to have $3,000 a month coming in? Do I want to have a kid with an extra $2,000 a month coming in? Ask yourself where you want to be in 5 years. Okay, now we have a framework to go off of. Okay, regardless of the things you want to be doing, this is where you want to be financially. This is the freedom you want to have. This is the time you want to have. And then from there, we're going to leg it back and set yearly goals. And then I advocate for quarterly goals as well.
So yearly goals, quarterly goals, and then the big 5 year. Where do you want to be? So let's say somebody wants to start their own business in 5 years. They want to either buy a business or they want to start their own thing. Yeah, financially, where do you need to be? I mean, the financial freedom is probably the goal. As most people, that's where they want to get to. I think that's where a lot of you address is like that financial independence. How does somebody get there? Today's episode is brought to you by Thrive Marriage Lab. If you want your marriage to thrive, this is a great opportunity to you. Because strong marriages are the bedrock of strong churches, organization, families, and community. This is a 12-month pathway for any of you that are looking to really have weekly engagement with experienced marriage counselors. Not just one, but many. So go to restory.life/thrive to get on the waiting list for this great program that starts in April. That's restory.life/thrive. And make sure you put the word Forge in the promo code to receive a discount on your monthly fee. Now, back to the episode.
There needs to be a realization of your world where like you learn to have enough. And I mean, there's only two ways you bring in money. Okay. It's either an income raise or you reduce your spend. Those are both pay raises. Just you're doing it in different ways. So, you know, and even for me, just some perspective and example for people, like when I left my medical device job, that was a lot of money I was making. You know what I'm saying? On top of the passive income I had. Right. But it just got to a point where more work, more expectations, less incentive, less money, less commission. And then I got to a point and I looked at it and I was like, holy shit. Like I am literally making as much money actively working for this company, stressed out, unhappy, feeling unfulfilled, mental health is tanking, all this other stuff. I'm making just as much money as I am passively. And so it still was, I hover somewhere around the $80,000, $90,000 passively right now, but I was making $80,000, $90,000, actively at the medical device job. So collectively that was $180,000. Like that's a lot of money, And so for me to go, all right, I'm going to do this. I'm done. I just want my free time and I want to be able to do the things. There was still a very large lifestyle adjustment there. I lost 50% of what I was used to having, So really getting used to and comfortable with the idea that like, if you want to get where I'm at, or if you want to be where I'm at, but before that 80,000, 90,000 mark, like, I don't know how much you're making right now, but get used to living on 40,000 passively, 50,000 passively, 60,000 passively. And one of the reasons I think I was able to adjust it, I'm still adjusting to it, but one of the reasons I was able to adjust that so well, I think, is because like, dude, my first year in real estate, I made 18 grand. And then I made 40 and then I made 72. So like I already had learned how to live on very little, and still figure out ways to invest, I ate a lot of ramen that first year, but I still figured out how to get money into my Roth IRA. I still made that behavior commitment that I need to put away money now at a younger age. So that way I have to do less heavy lifting down the road.
Yeah. So, I mean, for you, that period of time was pretty quick because you already had so much passive income. But when you made that decision, I'm leaving my standard 9-to-5 job. What then did you feel like you had to sacrifice, or that you needed to do to make that jump to leave your job? I mean, that wasn't within 24 hours, was it? Like, oh, I'm going to stop, and then I'm turning.
Yeah, no. I mean, I end up. My company was making it pretty difficult for me in general, anyway. I don't think they liked the fact that I rocked the boat. I questioned things. I kept getting shittier accounts, and all of my good accounts that I had spent, years taking care of and doing. And, things got uncomfortable for me. And I was just raising my hand going like, dude, why am I getting paid half of what other people are getting paid? Why is my territory getting smaller? Why am I getting the shitty accounts? What is going on? Like, and lo and behold, I mean, they ended up eliminating my position 3 months after I left. And then I asked someone, I was like, what was the severance? And it was like two paychecks. And I'm like, oh, that wasn't worth the headache. I'm glad I left 3 months early. But I already knew there was going to be a financial sacrifice there, but I guess the realization for me was just like, I just need to make this jump and do it, was because I was actively working, making just as much as I was passively. And so it's like, I have all that. If I'm making just as much actively being stressed out, unhappy, wondering why, getting written up for dumb shit. I got written up because I didn't open up my fucking emails in a timely manner. Are you fucking kidding me? Get the fuck out of here, dude. But ridiculous shit, dude. Ridiculous shit. That just was, and I was just sitting there thinking like, I'm a terrible worker. I must not be good. Like, but in reality, like the environment that was being created made me think that way, which is a really shitty thing to do to a human being, honestly. But that's corporate. That's corporate America. But yeah, I mean, the biggest thing was just, I knew I was going to take this financial jump and I was that unhappy. I'm willing to take the pay cut to get my time back, my happiness back, my freedom back, and be able to maneuver through life with more flexibility.
Yeah, that's great. You made me think of, so Tim Ferriss, which, I'm sure 40-hour work week guy.
4-hour work week. Yep.
Yeah. So he had a great quote. It's like, most people would rather be unhappy than, oh my goodness, just my brain just farted.
It happens.
Yeah. They prefer unhappiness than uncertainty. That's what it was. And so, in your mind, so when there was uncertainty, it's like, did your brain, like for me, when I left a kind of a stable job and moved where I had to depend on other sources of income,
sure.
It was the creative space just blew off my head. I'm like, oh, wow.
Yeah, because you have all this time.
Yeah. Okay. So tell me about that. What started popping up in your head? Like, I could do this. I could do this. I could do this.
Yeah. I mean, I started looking at getting into photography, and it's still something I want to do down the road. Podcasting was always like huge on my list. I had tried to do a podcast 3 times prior to this, but the technical knowledge in years past was a little greater in requirement versus today. Just, that's right. Just the way technology, computers relative to the 1990s, relative today, we got them actually in our hand and they're way easier to use and stuff. So, podcasting, and then I love music, and I know tons of people in the music space out here. And so I looked at maybe getting into DJing and stuff like that. And one of the important lessons I taught myself with all of this is like, I was doing all these things and I was kind of like not doing good in all of them because there was no overlap. And so, to the person getting ready to take that jump or preparing this to get to where we're talking about right now, my biggest piece of advice would be say yes to things. Okay. And continue to say yes to things. And the things that matter to you most and you're going to want to continue pursuing will end up staying, and the other ones will end up falling off. And so for me, the podcast, I just kept coming back to the podcast. I kept wanting to do an episode every Wednesday. I kept wanting to have people ask me questions. I kept finding myself in conversations, whereas with the photography, I'd look at it and it'd be like, man, it'd be cool to go take a picture of the sunset, but I got to drive 20 minutes and get to the park, and I don't want, and then it just ends up falling off. And it was the same thing with the DJing stuff. I started doing the DJing stuff and I was like, man, this is going to take a little more work than I anticipated. It's still something I'm interested in, but I just don't have the motivation to create a good habit with that right now. And so just start saying yes to things. And the more things you say yes to, the more over time you'll realize you're going to start saying no to things naturally. And that one thing you want to keep saying yes to you'll keep saying yes to. Yeah. The doors will start opening, kind of falling into place a little bit. Well, and the doors will start closing too. Yeah. And the other one, you open 5 doors and you keep wanting to walk into each one of them. Like eventually you're going to want to close 2 or 3 of those doors and focus on these 1 or 2 things. I forgot who said it, and it's true. If you have more than 3 priorities, you don't have any at all. Yeah. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so you just really got to put the blinders up. And I think I was just a little overly excited because it's like, I got all this free time now. I can go do 5 different things. And the reality is if you really want to get good at something, if you really want to take something to a level of success that you're expecting in your life, you need to be focusing on, 3 things. And again, people don't realize a relationship, that's a priority. Okay. So there's one right there. Okay. You want to hang out with your family and friends, you can ball that up into relationships. I guess that's priority. You want to go to the gym and be healthy. That's a priority. Okay. Now you got one more. Okay. Pick one. And so mine was podcasting. Yeah. Oh man, that's good. Yeah. So, I mean, basically what you just said is at first you got to be willing just to try stuff. You got to be going out and just give it a shot.
But then once the dust settles and you really then start going, all right, this is my priority, not these other things.
Right. You'll eventually come to that realization or actualization where it's just like, all right, I want to do all these things, but there's a stack ranking here. And my stack ranking is saying XYZ is more important than ABC and DEF.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, let me ask you this, because this is something, I mean, Hollywood has been posting like crazy. All these former startups and tech, they're showing the shows. You know, they did the one about Theranos. They're doing the Uber guy. Mm-hmm. I just watched my wife the Fire Festival one. Anyway, it's just funny, like posting these millennials that, I mean, there's a couple of issues you could sit there and go like, oh, they all had these overlap. But one I noticed is like they are all in way too much of a hurry all the time about what, like, we have to get to these part. And a lot of it was none of it was internal either. They were purely basing it off the external. But my question for you from that is just like, so someone, you've had, $180,000 income. Mm-hmm. And then when you left your job, that was cut in half.
Right.
You feel this urgency that I got to get back there.
There was initially, because I was having a hard time adjusting to living on that new level of income. But now it's just kind of like, I definitely have subscribed to this idea that, like, the analogy I love to use is a video game. Okay. Why do people play video games? For the challenge, to unlock new areas, to buy new gear, to do this, to do that, and like, we pick up video games voluntarily, but when you pick up a video game and you voluntarily choose to play the whole thing without cheat codes, it's an overall a longer and a more rewarding experience. If you pick up a video game and play and punch in all the cheat codes, is it fun? Yeah, for a little bit, but then you get bored pretty fast because you got all the cheat codes, you got everything unlocked. Okay. Like, and while you pick up a video game by choice, we've been given this life by default. If some magic entity dropped into the world and said, I give you all the cheat codes, go have fun, you would get bored with your life very fast. Yeah. So like, look at your life as more of a video game and just like, okay, like, this is the journey. This is the challenge. Here's my hero's journey. Here's a quest I need to complete. Here's an area I just unlocked because I unlocked this new passive income. So now this is a new playing field I get to play in that other people haven't unlocked yet. Like, you got to learn to enjoy the journey. And between that and a realization I actually had a couple weeks ago, of, I want to get back to this 180. If you're constantly goalposting where your idea of success and happiness is going to be in the future, guess what? You're never allowing yourself to have those emotions.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll be happy. I'll be happy when I get this promotion. I'll be happy when I make this much money. I'll be happy when I get this many downloads for my podcast. I'll be happy when I do a YouTube expansion. I'll be happy if you're constantly goalposting your happiness out into the future self, you never get to experience it in the present self. So you just got to learn to just kind of like enjoy the journey that is, man. And like, understand that the trials and tribulations that is part of your narrative, it is part of the process that makes it rewarding looking back on it.
So yeah, when you experience some of those struggles of the process, what keeps you in it? What keeps you from, overextending yourself? Enjoy that process, that journey of what you're building.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest with you. Like, I'm not impervious to it. Like, there is very real achievers burnout I've had numerous times professionally. There has been days where I roll out of bed and I look at this podcast and I look at the amount of downloads I'm fucking getting. And I'm like, fuck, like, oh my God, I got to do another episode. And I only got this many downloads this week. But then like at the end of the day, like you hit those low points, but then you get this random message from Instagram or this random person that hits you up out of nowhere, or even someone within your sphere. Hey, I just want to let you know, I listened to like episode 13 and dude, that was really cool. It gave me some good perspective. And like, that's the stuff that, gets you back out of that funk. But you just got to understand, like, there's anything successful. If creating anything with success was a linear path, was just straight up, guess what? Everyone would be successful. Yeah. The reality is the people that are able to be successful are the ones that are able to literally run through those dips and get back up to the highs and then somehow figure out a way to keep going higher and higher, even during coming down through the dips. Like, and as long as you just got to hold on and remember that mentality and that framework that, for every person that's going to succeed, there's going to be a lot of people that don't succeed. And again, you need to define what your definition of success is. I had a friend, she felt like she was falling a little bit behind on the idea of success. She wants to open her own coffee shop and stuff like that. She's a little younger than me. And, you could tell she was kind of beating herself up about it. And I literally looked over at her and I said, what's your definition of success? And she said, well, just to have a successful coffee shop and, a boutique one, and then maybe do like coffee classes and have, people that want to pick up coffee making as a hobby come in, and I could teach them classes on the expensive espresso machines. And I thought it was a fantastic idea. And I told her, like, you have so much time to be successful based on your definition of success. If you would have told me your definition of success is Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk, all right, maybe you are running out of time. Maybe you aren't, maybe that is a limiting belief on my end, but because people's ideas of success can vary so much. And so to run and generate a successful coffee company, you have so much time to achieve that, if that's your definition of success. So pairing that with just the reality that, like, you're going to go through slumps. I go through slumps. I know you've gone through slumps. And anyone that's told me that it's just been a peachy ride that's full of rainbows and butterflies is lying to your fucking face.
Yeah. Yeah, they're definitely full of shit.
Yeah, dude. Like, don't fucking lie to me like that. Like, I know life is challenging, but it wouldn't be fun without the challenges.
It'd be so boring.
It'd be boring.
That's so true. I remember when I was 20, I wanted my life figured out by 25, and now I'm so thankful that didn't happen.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's a lot you said that was really good, Zach. I mean, it's funny. I'm sitting there thinking, you're talking about all those people that want to avoid the roller coaster that is life. I'm like, that's corporate America is what that is. All those people, the ones just got the 9 to 5 and they just show up, not to knock anybody, but I think that's
but there's definitely there's a level of security there. And to be honest, like, I'd rather fall flat on my face doing this podcast for 5 years than just continuing to do that, because, like, what's the alternative? The alternative is, like, this ends up becoming something great. And I don't care whether I have, 1,000 supporters or 1 million supporters. Like, if I have a close knit group of 1,000 true fans that are really helping me grow and build the message, and I'm helping their life and changing their life, that's way more rewarding than being punched and beaten down, being told, stay in your place, be the corporate cog in the machine, by hell or high water, just generate more money for this company. We don't really fucking care about you. And, like, there's this big corporate movement now where it's like mental health, like blah, blah, blah. They don't fucking care.
No.
It's just a fucking PR thing.
Mm-hmm. God, that is so funny. It's like every little product I pick up, there's some like little cute slogan, like, we love sharing the wealth, or we care for people. And you're like, no, you don't. Stop.
Yeah.
Stop.
Oh, it's when the monthly awareness things come out too. Like Black History Month or, Pride Month or whatever. It's like, for a month, like, these corporate companies are like, we love the gays, or like, we love African Americans, and then the next month it's like, back to business.
Right.
Or it's now we got to go.
We're not going to hire any of them.
Dude, it's all a game. It's all a scam.
It's a creepy little game.
So I'm just big on, like, that's one thing that I've stopped doing too. Like, I'm really trying to reduce my Amazon spend. I'm trying not to buy more than 20 items on Amazon this year. Last year I bought 70. The year before that I bought 190 freaking things on Amazon. But it's companies like this that are, like, really ruining the ability for people to have the confidence to go out into the world and create a mom and pop shop. I think there's this huge perverted idea, especially in younger generations and stuff like that, where it's like, I want to be the next Elon Musk. I want to be the next Bezos. I want to be the I don't think those people are good for the environment. I don't think billionaires are good for the environment in general. We can get into that on a later topic. But, what's wrong with being a guy that has 8 successful clothing brand shops in one state? Like, that sounds like a pretty sick life to me too. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got your own clothing brand and you're known throughout the state and you have 8 stores. Like,
it's awesome.
But no one thinks about it in that aspect. And, some people are going to argue that's a limiting belief, or you're aiming too small. No, I'm not aiming too small. I think it's
like, how much more do you need?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's just like this idea that, like, I actually did another great example. I did an episode on the Amazon stuff that I'm talking about right now. And he's worth like $200 billion or something like that. I broke the math out. Okay. You ready for this?
Mm-hmm.
You would have had to have started working in 261 BC, making $10,000 an hour with no breaks to make it to be worth as much as Jeff Bezos right now.
It's insane.
It's insane, right? But you hear billion and you don't really tie it to how excessive or gross it is. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But now that I told you, you need to work. Who makes $10,000 an hour to begin with? And now I got to start you all the way back in 261 BC. And by the way, no bathroom breaks. None. You would have to work
zero.
Through. You know what I'm saying?
Like eating while you work.
That's such an insane amount. Like no one needs that much money. And if you need that much money, I think you're missing the entire point of life.
Exactly. Yes. Which goes back to the definition. What is successful to you?
Correct.
Like we look at the broad overarching macro version of all these people that are successful.
Yes.
At the end of the day, like we wouldn't want their life. We wouldn't want who they are. We don't want to be them. Like, you know, like like you look at all these documentaries, all these people, and you're like, yuck, no, thank you,
dude. I'm good, man. I don't.
Yeah. Oh man, Zach, there was something you hit on that made me sit there. Oh yeah. So let's go back into this whole thing of like, so what I'm hearing you say is, if you're looking to leave your regular 9-to-5 job and start your own thing, it's not necessarily certain behaviors. It's actually mindsets before those behaviors. You got to be thinking to go. Yeah.
Yeah. You got to make the shift and go, if I really want to get to a place where I'm on the playing field that Zach's on or other people are on that may have less or more money than Zach. You know, I'm just one person. I'm one data point. There's people that are doing what I'm doing that have more. There's people that have less. You know, you need to get okay with the concept. If I want to get there faster, I got to learn how to live on less. I got to learn how to have enough. I got to learn how to say no to more things. And it's hard to do in this world because, you know, fast fashion, purses, cars, all these things. One of the biggest hacks I could give you when trying to get to that point that I'm talking about, where it's like, okay, I'm going to lose half of my income tomorrow and I'm going to be okay with it. One of the fastest ways is understanding and realizing we are born into this world pre-programmed with the notion that an object, an item, a thing, a service will give me an emotion after I purchase it. Marketing does a very, very, very good job making sure you think that the gatekeeper of that emotion you want to feel is only accessible after you purchase the product, service, thing, experience.
Yeah.
You can... But again, we're born into that. I was literally born into a world where I am constantly hammered with marketing being told, you buy this, you'll be happy. You buy that, you'll be sexy. You buy this, you'll be popular. You buy that, you'll look cool. You buy this, like, and literally, like, if that's all you're born into, then you're just looking at these objects as gatekeepers to the emotions you want. When in reality, it's just like, no. We were just literally pre-programmed to think all of this. The emotions I want and need already exist within me. I don't need to go purchase the object and then it goes, open sesame, you shall pass. Now I'll let you have contentment.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. So give me what was maybe one of your, I mean, I guess you said Amazon. What was the thing you was purchasing on Amazon? Click and that thing's going to be in my house in 2 days. What was one that you kind of had to like really reprogram?
Dude, I love cars and watches so much.
Yeah.
It's a problem. It really is. And of course, they're like the two most freaking expensive things.
They are.
You know, but I've learned to like, you know, I used to want an Omega watch, really wanted an Omega watch. And those things will run you $8,000, $9,000, $10,000. But I'm learning to identify and find things that I still value and still get a lot of sustained value out of, but aren't ridiculously priced. So one of the watches I love are Bullovas. I got like 5 of them and they hover around the $500 to $1,000 range. Some of them maybe a little bit more, but like they're really quality, good looking watches. And like I get lots of compliments on them. And I don't think there's anything wrong with indulging in something you love. Like if you're a girl and you really love purses, if you're a guy and you really love Nike shoes, if you're, you know, and you love XYZ. I'm not saying become this monk and like deprive yourself of all enjoyment of these things. I'm just saying like learn to peel off of this idea that that's going to be the epitome or the pillar of your happiness or contentment or whatever. Because I guarantee you're going to get to a point where you can buy the Porsche 911 and it's fun for a little bit, but then that happiness and that contentment drops right back down. And now what? Okay, now I'm goal posting for the next thing I want. Now I want a Bugatti Veyron or whatever. I'm just like, it just never stops. You get the emotions are within, and like to learn to have enough, be happy, and then have all your free time to pour into the creative things you want to do to make this world a better place. That's a wealthy life.
Yeah. So I mean, give me a little bit more of the journey when you finally left that job. What was some of those emotions you found within yourself?
Emotions I found within myself regarding.
Well, I mean, there's an interesting way you put that. I like the way you phrased that finding when you start really analyzing some of these material things that you like find emotion, you think the emotion is within that. And you started putting these things down. What was some of the emotions you realized like, oh no, this is all right here?
So that didn't really happen when I left my job. It happened leading up to leaving my job because, again, I come from a background with zero safety nets. And because I didn't spend a lot of time, effort, energy on family and stuff like that, and I didn't have safety nets, what did I do? I worked a lot. Consumed a lot of content and stuff where, Hollywood, fetishizes this idea of just, getting really rich, stepping on other people's necks, Wall Street, greed, all that shit, and as I got closer and closer to this million mark was when I told myself, this is where I'll be happy. This is where I'll be content. This is where I will feel successful. This is where I will feel fulfilled. And as I got closer and closer to that number, I'm like, shouldn't I at least start feeling a little bit of this? No. Okay. I'm getting closer. Still don't feel anything. Getting closer. Still don't feel anything. Holy shit. What is going on? I'm having a crisis right now because for 10 years, I told myself this is when I'll be happy. And so that was the huge momentous pivotal shift in my world where it's like, I'm about to hit this number that I told myself I'd be happy and I'm not. So is it going to happen at 2.5, 5, 10, 50, 500? Like, I don't know. And that was even scarier to me than going, okay, I need to figure out and reframe and work some things differently out in my head, because the last thing I want to do is work another 20 years, get to 2.5 or 5 or 10. And this same freaking story repeats itself. But that was the big inflection point for me. What finally pushed me off of that edge was looking at my medical job and looking at my passive income and going, I am literally making the same amount of money here. One is actively, one is passively. I'm going to get all my time back, and I'll probably end up getting back to this point. Even if I don't get back to that point, the fact that I have all of my time right now at the age of 32 is just some rare fucking air, man. I will tell you that for free.
Yeah, it really is. It's made you probably sit there going, yeah, what am like, yeah, I mean,
dude, you get time, you get time to think. And when you have time to think, man, like you can really start tapping into some really cool stuff within yourself. But if you're constantly working, if you're constantly worried about the bills, if you're constantly worried about the promotion, oh, I just got the promotion. Okay, now I need to get a new car. Okay, I got the new car. Cool. Probably need to look at getting a bigger house. I got to make sure my kid's getting into this school district. Okay, we can't afford that. Okay, I got to get a secondary job in order for them to get into a good charter school. Like if you're constantly just working in this perpetual achievement consumption cycle, you really don't have time to think about anything.
Yeah, right. Which is where we find value. It's, like the whole language of like self-love. Like if you never learned how to love yourself, you can't love anybody else. So you're just basically using all these things to keep you alive. It's a survival mentality in a first world sense. Yeah. So yeah, what was one of the main like, I don't know if you saw any of this, felt like you had any mistakes you made when you left your job, or what is maybe some of the big mistakes that you've seen people make when they do, maybe, or something to avoid? Is that, you understand the question I'm asking?
Yeah, no, yeah. Just thinking about it. One thing I didn't do that I definitely should have done is whatever income you're anticipating living on, do that for a month or two. Like dip, just like when you buy the fish at the pet store, you don't dump it right away into the tank. You let it sit in that Ziploc for 20 minutes before you cut the bag open and release it. So like, that's something I definitely wish I would have done because I went from, whatever that is breaking out monthly, but half of it just disappeared. And I was like, oh, like this is different. You know what I'm saying? So like that was definitely an adjustment. I would definitely, the goldfish bag analogy, do it for a couple months while you're still on it. And again, maybe it's a little too hard. Okay. Maybe you wait a couple more months or something like that, before you make that adjustment. I mean, one of the other things too that I'll share on the show, I got into an Airbnb project and we were projecting some certain numbers for that. And that's part of my total package for passive income. It's been a learning experience, and with learning, sometimes there becomes pain, and we didn't realize how high the cleaning fees were going to be. We didn't realize how high management fees were going to be. And so it really it's still a cash flowing property, but it's not cash flowing. We were about 50% off on the cash flow ideas. And so it's stabilizing. We'll still end up getting where we need to get to, but that'd probably be the other big thing. Like, you can project things best case scenario, but if you're getting ready to take that jump and live off of passive income, try and create some scenarios where not everything is going as planned. And you can adjust for that income, which is going to adjust your lifestyle.
Yeah, that's good.
So, yeah, those would be the two biggest learning things that I took away. And then regarding other people doing it, I'm not really talking to a lot of other people right now that have done what I've done. I'm sure I'll end up bumping into them and getting in contact with them. It's more been conversations with people that are like, here's where I'm at. I'm tired. I want to be where you're at, or I want to be somewhere where you're at, even if it's less or more or whatever. Mm-hmm. So right now it's just been a lot of coaching and helping people like that figure out, where do you want to be in 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, 10 years? Okay, now let's reverse engineer this. Here's where you need to be pushing money. Quit maxing out your 401k. You need to start looking at getting stuff into a traditional brokerage account. With your 401k, since it's tax deferred stuff, maybe we can look at pushing that money into a couple rental properties. Your Roth IRA is cool. Keep hanging on to that. We can do a Roth conversion ladder as you get older in your 50s to start accessing that money at an earlier age. Like, there are so many different ways to move money around to make sure you can get where you want to be passively over a horizon of 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years.
Right. Yeah, that's good. Yeah. Well, Zach, I think that's all I got today, man. That was really good. Man, you were like a fire hose, though. You give it all, so I appreciate it.
I try to share as much information as I can, and to your audience members that are just, maybe they're getting that burnout. Maybe they're just itching to just achieve more in life. And I am a wholehearted agreeer in the philosophy that we all have greatness. Okay. Some of us will never be able to tap into it. Some of us will be. And I think an ability to tap into your greatness heavily relies on getting past this filter of having to actively worry about money. Once you have had to stop actively worrying about money, because it sucks that that's the world we live in, but it is, and so, because of the system and the way it's constructed and the way the rules and terms are on the playing field, that is capitalism. If you're actively working, I think you have a much less chance of being able to tap into what that greatness is inside of you. So to your people that are, something's itching in them. Something's just going, I'm not sitting right with this. I'm not happy. I'm not fulfilled. Reach out to me, man. All my handles, I actually changed my website too. I remember you said it at the beginning. Everything, Instagram, Facebook, what's the other one?
Twitter.
Yes, Twitter. Yes, that's right. You even like my shit on Twitter. So
I do like your shit.
Yeah, appreciate that. Twitter. I got to learn how to fricking do TikTok. And so that's going to be a process.
Dude,
but anyway, yeah. Oh my God, dude. Don't even get me started. But it just goes to show I'm getting old because I don't know how to use that stuff. But anyway, all of that stuff. So anytime you're looking for me on any social channel or my website, it's Zach, ZAC DIY Wealth. That's everything.
That's it. At Zach DIY Wealth.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's everything. You can look for me anywhere. And again, if I'm not on a social handle, it means I'm not on it. So, but if you want to search on the ones that I'm actively on right now, go ahead and do that. DM me, ask me questions on Instagram, record your questions on the website. I will answer them on the shows. I'll even answer them before I do them on the shows because there's a lead time with all of that. But, I'm here to help everyone succeed. Oh, and then finally the Patreon account. You get access to my Excel spreadsheet, and then I do one-on-one coaching once a month with you for the cost of a Starbucks breakfast, $10.56 a month.
Ooh.
People mindlessly go purchase coffee monthly. If you can earmark some dollars to help support my show and the message I'm trying to grow, I will lean more into seeing you succeed.
How about that? That's great, Zach, man. I appreciate all that you're doing. Thanks for coming on once again, man, taking the time to come on Men Are Forged. Love your story. Love what you're doing. And, man, definitely let's do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. And, just to tie things off for you, you're a great interviewer. Like, you're fantastic. You ask really good questions. And like I said, you're one of the 7 people I have on my continued partnership board. So, and then, like I said, we will definitely figure out a way to get you onto my show, but I'm sure this will not be the last time I'm over on your platform.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think everybody in my audience that I'm trying to reach, like, they need to hear what you have to say.
Good, man.
And they're all wanting deep down to do what you're doing. So
yeah, I'm here for it. Let's do it. Let's get to work, guys.
Absolutely. Thank you for listening. If this is something that really resonated with you, you can go to ZachJuergensen.com or check out DIY Wealth, or follow Zach on Twitter, and you find out a lot about his resources and how he can help you do more of what he's doing today. So if that resonated with you, please go check out Zach Juergensen at a multitude of platforms, podcasts, Twitter, as well as his website, ZachJuergensen.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see y'all next time.